All right, we're back for Q&A part 2, and I'm going to continue where I left off last time, but as always, if you have more questions, ask them below and I'll tack them on to the end of the list. And this video question and answer series could last forever. Right now, it's looking like it's going to be 8 parts, so if you ask more questions, you can probably be assured it will be longer than that. So we're back to the questions. We're partway through Mutant 0079's questions here. So we're going to go on to the first question he asked, which is the 10th question he's asked on this video. So this is the first one for today, though. And the question is your favorite PS2 Simple Series and your underrated PS2 Simple Series game. Um, I want to say my favorite Simple Series game is probably Ambulance versus Zombie, or maybe it's Zombies versus Ambulance. I'm sure it's Ambulance versus Zombies. I'm not sure though. It's like Zombie. Maybe it is Zombies versus Ambulance. Ambulance. It's Zombie Tai Kyukusha, which is like Zombies versus Ambulance, and it's actually like a really fun game. It's the Simple Series game that I put the most amount of time into, and I put like 30 hours into that game. I really liked that game a lot, and it's goofy. You just drive an ambulance around, and it's kind of like a mix between Crazy Taxi and some kind of like weird mowing people down with a ambulance simulator or something. Because like you drive around town and you mow down zombies with the ambulance, and you pick up people and bring them back to the kind of hospital that's your base. And it's like it sounds stupid, and it's stupid, but it's really fun. And then there's like boss battles versus giant zombie worms and stuff. It's interesting. It's a good game, and I think it's cheap. So like, buy it if you haven't. If you, well, I guess like you need an import PS2 to play it, but yeah, it's a good game. That's actually a good game. Simple series game that is quite fun. And underrated simple series game. I'm gonna go with Earth Defense Force Tactics, which is like part of the Earth Defense Force series, but it's a like a tactical game where like you're on a grid-based map and you're kind of going back and forth with your units versus units of giant bugs. It's good. It's not like super in depth or anything, but it's kind of like a throwback to those kind of games like Military Madness on the TurboGrafx. It's not. It's like a kind of a bare bones strategy game, but it's fun, and it's got giant bugs. It's got that same Earth Defense Force kind of feel to it. I guess that was probably released in English too, in Europe only, maybe. It's a good game though. It's probably underrated. I say it's underrated because I haven't heard many people talk about it, but it's a good game. Let's see. Have you ever been in the Japanese suicide forest, Aokigahara, near Mount Fuji? I've never been there. I'm not much of a outdoors kind of person. You could probably imagine by my horribly pale skin. Um, I I couldn't imagine a situation where I'd end up hiking in a forest, and if I were gonna go hiking in a forest, I probably wouldn't want to pick a forest where I could just like be walking around and suddenly like, oh, there's a corpse. That's like something that's not on a bucket list I have. Finding a corpse. Um, but so I don't really plan on going there. I don't really plan on going hiking ever. If you ever see me hiking, it's probably not me, or I'm being forced to hike. So you should probably call the police or ask me if I'm okay. Um, Other than that, like, no, never been there. So your least favorite and most hated professional wrestlers. That's hard because like I don't really tend to concentrate on the people I don't like. But there are people who are around that I just don't like. I don't like to see wrestle, and they're popular ones too. But so it's not exactly. It's a little controversial if you like wrestling. But I really dislike the Undertaker. Like I think he's not a very good wrestler, and he's not exciting to watch. And he's been like stale and corny for like ever since he's been a wrestler ever. Basically ever. There was never a point where the Undertaker was not stale and corny. And also, you can add Kane to that list because he's like Undertaker Jr. Um, and basically anybody who's like those guys. There's a lot of people like that. There's a lot of people I think that I'm not like super big fans of, but I don't really care, and that is all right because it leaves them maybe the option to come back as someone I like later if they change up. It's not like I'm ever gonna like Mark Henry or something or the Big Show. Those guys are never gonna have good matches, and the Undertaker is well past an age where he can have a good match, which is evident by like all the matches he's been in the past like 2 or 3 years. So yeah, I don't know. That's I guess an answer. And this will be the last question for now because there's more from you and later on. I've tacked it onto the end of the list, so there's a gigantic list of more questions later. But for now, this will be the last one. And is your opinion on Daniel Bryan and his yes, yes, yes gimmick? Also, do you think his retirement is pretty bad for WWE because he was super popular and over with the fans? Um, yeah, I don't. I like Daniel Bryan a lot. I think he was a really good wrestler, and the the yes 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 thing is great because like it's kind of the situation where um, WWE like was forced to make this guy popular because the fans really liked him despite their WWE booking him like he's not a very good wrestler or like he's not popular. And he wasn't their chosen guy, but he came to be like the chosen guy by the fans. So he was like that kind of one in a million kind of wrestler where he had everything going for him except for a million concussions that have taken him out of wrestling forever. And that's to say like his concussion story is really scary because like if you've ever heard him talk about it recently, like he was having like concussion seizures. That's like a point where you should just be like, I'm not going to do this anymore. And that's basically what happened. He just decided like, yeah, the doctors are right. I shouldn't do this anymore. So concussion seizures probably didn't, help that situation. So yeah, poor Daniel Bryan. Hope he come. I mean, he's never coming back. I hope he could, but it's probably not possible. Too much brain damage. Perils of being a professional wrestler, I guess. All right, so we're moving on. So we've got next question from the positiver, who I'm sure had a different name before. Um, let's see. So he's asking my top 10 favorite video game series or just games in no particular order. It's hard. It's hard off the top of my head because like I know like once I give 10 games or series, I'm going to think of other stuff that I should have put in there. But I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a shot for like a general because I could probably give my top 5 series without having to pick a specific game relatively easily. So of course Fallout, Soul series, Yakuza, that's Yuga Gotoku, the Megami Tensei. That's 4. Let me think. I really like the Kryn series of RPGs. There's 3 games in that series: Champions of Kryn, Dark Knights of Kryn, and Dark Queen of Kryn. Those are all really good. They're old though. They're pretty old. They're from the like late 80s, early 90s. But one of my. I have like a really kind of like strong nostalgic feelings for that, and I put so much time into those games that it's just kind of like a thing I can play anytime, even though like you need graph paper. The I would have put something like Eye of the Beholder, that series, in there, but like that series got progressively worse after they changed developers. Um, so I won't add that, but we'll say we've got 5 right now. I want to say for specific games, it's not like all the games in the series, but Shadowrun on the Super Nintendo is like one of my favorite games. It's like a game I can play at any time, and it doesn't take that long to beat. Like you can beat that game in like 5 hours, maybe. It's not really that long if you know what you're doing anyway. It's really short, if you know how to play it, there's not like you really have to do any grinding. You do there's like one point in the game where you have to do grinding and it's stupid. Like you can do it in one spot just going back and forth. And you know, you do that for half an hour and you've grinded all you need to grind for the whole game. It's a good series though. Well, I mean, not series. It's not really a series. It is now. It is now. I guess I'll add Shadowrun as a series. Whatever. I don't like all of the games in that series though, because I don't like the 361 that Vampire Mike over at Sega CD Universe always loves. But I like all the PC ones that came out recently, so I guess I'll add that. So, because basically the 360 Shadowrun is the only Shadowrun game I don't like, and the Sega CD one I haven't played. So, but beyond that, Shadowrun, we'll add that. That can be 6. Let me look behind me. That's hard. Favorite games. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to do off the top of your head. I might put Mass Effect in there. Despite Mass Effect 3 being, not horrible. Like, I really liked Mass Effect 3 until, like, the ending. But even then, like, I didn't hate the ending. When everybody was complaining about the ending and I got to it, I was like, well, it's not, like, super great, but it's not awful. And, that was a thing. But the whole series as a whole, like, I played that game a ton. Like, I played Mass Effect 1 6 times or something. And I went through 2 4 times, maybe. And I went through 3 4 times, I think. So, I can't say I hated that game. I really liked that game a lot, actually. So, we can add that as a series. I'm trying to think of other series. It's hard. Like, I can pick out singular games, but like I'm trying to think of series because that was your question. Or even though you added just games, but I don't want to pick out any single games for this because like it's too difficult. So 3 more series, I can do that. Street Fighter is a series that I really like, which seems weird because like I don't usually mention fighting games that much, but I used to, and I've bought all the Street Fighter games like as soon as they come out. And the only sucky thing now is that like the people I was playing with before don't usually play that much anymore, so I don't have anybody to play with, so it makes it less fun for me. But I would buy those. That's could be 8. Hard. That's some hard stuff. Series. Man. I guess I would say maybe I'll add Fire Emblem series, but I'm kind of down on Fire Emblem recently, so like maybe it would slide out of my top 10 for series. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to do this off the top of my head without like really looking through everything. There's a secret about all the games back there is that like they're double rowed. So like all the stuff you see, there's an entire row of the same size behind those. So it's really, I can't even see everything I have, and like there's a slide thing over there. It's not easy to look at all this stuff. Silent Hill, I'll add Silent Hill as a series because I really like it. Pretty much every Silent Hill game I like. There's no Silent Hill game that I dislike where I just think like this is garbage. I can't play this. I know some people think that some of the games are garbage and they can't play it, but I like pretty much everything. I can't think of a Silent Hill game that I don't like, actually. I played the light gun shooter in the arcade, and that was awesome. It's a good series. I don't know. I just like horror, and I like Silent Hill, and I like the creepy weirdness of it, even by people who aren't the original Team Silent. So, Silent Hill. And I guess I need one more series. But, who knows? Let's see what we got. A series. Man. Series. Oh, what am I doing? I'm forgetting a bunch of stuff. Look at this, and I'm thinking, I didn't mention Wizardry is like an awesome series. One of my all-time favorite series. One of my all-time favorite games actually is Wizardry 8, um, and of course XCOM. But that's 11. I'm already at 11, but I could add an XCOM in there, except for like the bad XCOM games, which means I could probably move XCOM a little bit down because they're not all winners for the XCOM series. There's all those weird ones, so whatever. So that's it. That took longer than maybe it didn't take longer than I expected because I expected to not be able to come up with 10 off the top of my head, but whatever. So all right, there we go. Next question. This one is from Zbeer2. Zbeer2. Okay. So okay. That's what it is. And the question is, what kinds of things do you cook at home? Any Japanese foods you've tried to like but just can't stand? The kinds of things I cook at home, it depends on how I'm feeling, what I want to eat, I guess. Because like I have like go-to stuff that's just kind of easy to make that I will do that on days where I'm feeling lazy. Like I can make a ton of pizza dough or something and just like partition it and keep it out so I can like make pizza whenever. I sometimes will make like tacos and things like that. Like it's just a matter of like making tortillas, which I can do. But I tend to make like for example, today I made like a spaghetti squash kind of dish, like like a you'd imagine it like a pasta dish, but without the pasta, and including spaghetti squash, something like that. That's kind of the stuff I do. I don't know. I just do like random stuff that I feel like eating. Sometimes I see recipes online and I think like, well, I'll try that, or I just make something simple. Cook some vegetables and rice and maybe some like a cheeseburger or something. Who knows? It's it's that kind of thing. But for Japanese food, like I can't eat any Japanese food. There's virtually no Japanese food I can eat. I can't eat seafood, and like there's seafood in basically everything. Like even stuff that you wouldn't expect, like you know, like meat products. They'll like use like a kind of seafood based kind of soup to cook it in, and that ruins it. I can't eat that. So like basically, yeah, almost all Japanese food I can't stand. I can eat like 10% of Japanese food. It's mostly desserts. that's my answer to that. So all right, next question. We've got the Itch Network, who is a frequent commenter, which I appreciate. And he has two questions, it looks like. First question, is there any other reason Microsoft is so unsuccessful in Japan other than America? I think there's a lot of reasons, but one of the big ones is that there's never been like any guarantee that any Japanese companies will make games for the Xbox. And that matters. It matters because currently, like, I can understand why the Xbox One doesn't sell anything in Japan. It's because, like, virtually all the games that come out on the Xbox One you can get on the PS4. And without, like, some solid exclusives that, like, realistically, that Japanese people want, there's no reason for anyone to get an Xbox One. So people don't buy it. And that's basically been the story. And, like, it's been the story for a lot of stuff. Like, the only reason the Xbox 360 sold so much was that initial burst of, JRPGs in the beginning. So, like, if you get a Tales exclusive on your console, like, people will buy your console. It's a popular series, and people will buy a console for that series. So the Xbox 360 has, like, some amount of sales in Japan, whereas the Xbox One has, like, almost nothing. And it's for that reason. Like, can you think of any Japanese exclusives for the Xbox One? There are a couple. They exist, but they're not games that, like, are system sellers. even for me, there's games that I want that are Japanese exclusives for the Xbox One, but it's not like, man, I'm gonna go out and buy the system just to play, you know, Agito Tatsunoko. That's not gonna happen. I mean, it's probably a fun game. It looks fun, but it's a cheaply made game by a hamster. It's not gonna be exactly the kind of thing that sells a system. And then there's like visual novels. There's a couple visual novels, but like they always come out later. I mean, they're just timed exclusives. They come out later on the PS4 or PC, and people will buy them there. So like, it doesn't really give people a lot of need to buy those things. Like, why would you? And I think like that's just the thing. There's just not games for it. That's the biggest example. Like, the worst thing I can think about that situation is that like when the original Xbox came out, it actually does have a reasonable amount of Japanese only exclusives. Like, it has a pretty good amount of stuff, and the system itself has some pretty good exclusives, but it was just kind of an unproven system in Japan, so people weren't like hyped on getting it when they already had a PS2, and it was huge. Like, I mean, that actually matters. So, then they just haven't done anything to get people really excited for their console. That's basically it. I mean, it's not like Microsoft is doing super hot this gen either, everywhere. I mean, the PlayStation is kind of smacking it around. So, you wouldn't expect it to get popular now. It kind of it kind of lost that chance. I mean, not that it has no chance to become popular. It's just they'd have to court some Japanese developers with some big name titles to come in and do that stuff. It just doesn't seem like that's going to happen though. So that's my answer. I mean, there could be other reasons, but I think that's the biggest one. Just who needs it? There's no specific reason why you would have to get the Xbox One or the. I mean, there are some games on the 360. There are enough games on the 360 to warrant it, in my opinion. But on the Xbox One, no. And I doubt there will be for the Xbox One. Its entire life will probably not have enough games that are Japan only exclusive to get Japanese people like hyped enough to buy an Xbox One. That's honest opinion. So next question from the Itch Network. You may have stated this before, but what would you say is the difference between Japanese and American gamers? That's hard. I don't know, because like I think there are some differences in terms of like how much people enjoy handhelds. So like, when people have a handheld in Japan, like I've seen people like on game sale days, like just hang out at the store and like play with random people at the store afterwards. Like, you get a big release like a Monster Hunter or something like that, and like around the store will be people just like hanging out playing Monster Hunter with random people they met in line. That stuff happens. It doesn't really happen so much in the US, I imagine. But also, there's a big difference in terms of realistic expectations for games. And this is, I think, the biggest one, in that Japan has a mid-market for games. People don't look at a review score and see a 7 and think like, well, I'm not buying that. It's not good enough quality for me. What they do is they look at a game and they think like, oh, that looks like an interesting game. I'll buy it and see what it's like. And, not to say people don't look at reviews, because they do. If you read Japanese, you can see people talking about bad reviews for stuff all the time. But like, there are a lot of mid-market games. There's like a full range from like your kind of simple series, super cheap budget games to like mid-market to your high-budget games. There's a full range, and people understand that there's a range of games. They don't like judge a mid-market game by the standards of like a $100 million Rockstar game or something. They're not gonna nobody's gonna look at a game made for, you know, made for a tiny budget. Like this is a conversation I had the other day where we're talking about this game that's coming out tomorrow, Technomancer. And Technomancer is a game made by Spiders, and Spiders is like a low to mid market game developer. They made like Bound by Flame, and they're coming out with another game. It's called Technomancer, which is kind of like a cyberpunk, futuristic kind of wasteland thing. And it looks like I mean, it looks like a mid market game. It doesn't have like super in depth visuals, and it doesn't have like it obviously doesn't have a huge budget, but it looks like a good idea. And if the game plays well, it looks like something that I would buy. But I think like when that game comes out, it's gonna get murdered with reviews, and it's gonna, even though like the scores like will be representative of the a bit representative of the quality of the game, I bet you it's going to be sixes and sevens for that game across the board. And people are going to say like, oh, it doesn't look that great and feels cheap or whatever. But it's because they're judging it on a different scale. You know, like you can't judge a game like that, a mid-market game that took like maybe 2 years of development versus a game that had like, millions and millions of dollar budget plus, years and years and a gigantic team of people working on it. And that's basically what reviews do in the US. It's either like you have a super high quality budget game, high budget, high quality game, or you have an indie game that's made by like two dudes in a bedroom. And if you're anything in the middle there, you're just going to get destroyed. Basically, your company's going out of business. That's what like basically Last Generation taught all developers. Like if you're one of those mid-market developers, you're fucked. And the thing is, the difference between that and the Japan thing is that like there's a lot of mid-market developers in Japan, and people recognize that okay, this game doesn't have a huge budget, but it looks good, it looks all right, it seems interesting, it plays interesting. We're gonna give it a shot, and they rank games that way. So like you can see games will get, I don't know, they'll get reviewed on a scale that's relative to their kind of I'm not saying budget, but like the kind of level of game that it is. So like if you're a mid-market game, you're not going to be judged on a scale of like, it's not like Activision made this. It's made by like a team of 30 people in a game, in a company like Acquire or something. Like Acquire is not Activision, and you shouldn't judge them on the same scale, but comparatively US gamers will do that, whereas Japanese gamers do not. So they have a wider variety of companies and a wider variety of games. It's not like everybody's making the same kind of like proven this genre is great. We love this genre, so and it sells, so everybody's gonna make a shooter of some kind. It's not like that in Japan. Like obviously there are more popular genres, and like there are kind of clones of popular things, like the kind of monster hunting genre that came off of Monster Hunter. So, but at the same time, all of those kind of monster hunting games are their own thing. There's nothing I feel that's like a complete solid ripoff of Monster Hunter. So they all have their own kind of feel, even though like the kind of genre itself became a thing. So I don't know if that answers the question, but it is the kind of difference between the Japanese, at least gaming markets, and the way people accept games. Um, and I hope Technomancer does all right, actually, because I'm interested in it. I'm just gonna wait for the price to go down though, because it's gonna cost me $90 to import, which sucks. So all right, next question. Um, let's see. The next question is by I'm guessing this is MNN Europe, but it could be MN Europe. I don't know how to say these names. Who knows what people... It could be Europe. Europe? I don't know. Whatever. It's also somebody I recognize, though, from here. So, thumbs up for commenting. for all these years. So let's see. Question is, did you by any chance play any of these games, and what's your opinion of them? First game, Battle Circuit. Battle Circuit. I don't know what that is. It doesn't sound familiar to me, so I'm going to assume I haven't played it. Um, and it's in brackets, well, in parentheses, it's arcade, so probably I haven't. Unless no, it's not something I'm thinking of. The game I was thinking of just now was Cyber Sled, and it's not Battle Circuit. So I don't know. Never played that. Heroes of Might and Magic 3 on the PC I've played. I like the Heroes of Might and Magic games. You know, some more than others, obviously, but Heroes of Might and Magic 3 is a good one. Um, you know, I think I like the mainline Might and Magic games more than the Heroes of Might and Magic series. Um, but, you know, the Heroes games are still good. That's a good game. Baldur's Gate 2 on the PC. I don't remember if I played Baldur's Gate 2. And if I did, it wasn't on PC. So, if it came out on the Xbox, I might have played it. But I can't remember. I just honestly can't remember. But I played Baldur's Gate 1. I'm not sure about 2, though. But I liked the first Baldur's Gate, so I'm going to assume that I liked the second Baldur's Gate if I played it. But I might not have. Let's see, Stehakun on the Super Famicom. I haven't played that. And Umihara Kawase Shun on the PlayStation. I have played that, and that's like an inferior version of the Super. It's not the same game. It's a sequel, but like sort of. I can't remember. Is Shun might actually be a port of the Super Nintendo version with like a different graphics engine or something. Like it's kind of a port, kind of like an updated remake or something. But I remember it being janky. Like it's not as good as the original game. Either way, if it's a sequel or if it's a remake, I don't remember, but it's not as good as the original game. Like it controls worse. And in Umihara Kawase, if it controls worse, it's more frustrating. And the original game controls pretty good, but it's still frustrating. So if you can imagine, like it's frustrating when it controls good, like it's extra frustrating when it controls worse. So that's not to say it's awful. It doesn't control terribly. It's just not as good as you're used to if you played the previous one. So, you know, that's that's all I can say for it. But yeah, I didn't play half of those, I think. But all right, so next, okay, so the next question is from, this is maybe Jamie the Pain. Could be Jamie the Pain. How long did it take you to consider yourself as having fully learned Japanese? Well, I don't think I've fully learned Japanese. So never, but um, I don't know. I think like I learned, I was somewhat functional in Japanese after like a couple of months of going to school. Like I could be okay in a conversation. And after about a year, I was like pretty good. And then after 2 years, I was like, you know, not as good as I am now, but relatively on the level for like being able to talk to people in a normal way. So, you know, obviously after many, many years of being here, like my ability to speak and listen has grown exponentially, but you know, I'd say about 2 years, 2 years maybe to even though I wouldn't say fully learned, but I would say like being like a functional level where you can function in society. About that. That's that's my rough estimation anyway. So all right, next we've got. Okay, this is gonna be a rough one. Rafael Vasconcelos. I don't know. I guess that's the name. But we've got questions. So what is the for question number one is or are your favorite Megami Tensei games out of all the spin-off series as well as the main one. Favorite spin-off series in the Mega Ten universe overall, and favorite SMT game in the main numbered series. Okay, favorite Megami Tensei game out of all of the spin-offs series and the main one. Um, I, I still want to say overall, like in not like in terms of gameplay, but just in terms of like getting me interested in it. Shin Megami Tensei 1 is still my favorite, because it's the one that kind of captured my imagination for it. And it's not the best game, like gameplay wise. It's a little bit primitive, and um, it's. But I think like the feel of it is so good that it kind of catches me in there. And like I have played it again recently, along with two, and I thought like those two are timeless in a sense. Like they're timeless in the sense that you can enjoy the game, the story of it, and going through it, even though like the systems themselves and the graphics aren't as good as they are now. For I mean, it would be cool if they remade those. Like they just straight up did like a remaster for those games. I mean, even though they've remastered them like 30 times. I mean, like a modern remaster on the Vita or something. Like give me the first person dungeon crawler that's basically the same game but with updated graphics or something, or put them both on a cart Vita chip or whatever. That would be good. I would like that. So I'm going to go with that as my favorite. But my favorite spin-off series in the Mega 10 universe overall is the Digital Devil Saga. Easy. Those games are really, overall, those are probably the best games, but like they're the best to play. Like gameplay wise, I mean, it gets broken. Like if you get the right character combinations, like it's broken. It's broken as fuck. You just once you get that thing that gives you like double markers on the press turn system, you're just like unstoppable. So that's that's probably I wish they would do a port of those to the Vita or something, or I mean just anything with that series. A new game in the series would be awesome, but I'd like the original two on like HD remasters or something. So what was the other one? Favorite game in the SMT numbered series? 1. It's 1 because I like the beginning of 1 more than any of the beginnings of any. 3 is all right actually, but it's not near the best game. The beginning is what's awesome. But anyway, that's probably it. Yeah. So question 2 from Raphael here is, what do you see are the differences between Japanese gaming culture and Western gaming culture? I just answered that. So I guess that's maybe the same answer as I just gave for the other question. And do you think there's a renaissance of Japanese RPGs right now? Not really. I don't think there is. I don't think like, can you think of any Japanese RPGs that have come out that people are going to think are masterpieces like in the future? I mean, there's more Japanese RPGs coming out if that's what you mean. But like, are there any like real games where people are like, this is going to be a game that I want to play forever? Like something, not specifically for me, but many people feel that way about like Chrono Trigger or something, or Earthbound. Like, is there a Japanese RPG that's come out recently that you would fit into that kind of category of these games I think are going to be remembered by everyone or remembered in the future as kind of timeless classics? I mean, I can't think of any specifically off the top of my head. I can think of a lot of good JRPGs that I've played though, but I can't think of any that, like, I assume games like Persona are going to be like on everybody's lips 10 years from now when people are making their PS3 hidden gems videos for retro collectors in the future. So I guess that will happen. But like, I don't know. It's gonna be. It's it's the kind of situation where is it a renaissance? I don't really think the output has changed so much as like people in the West are just getting the games instead of them just not being localized. And even then, you're not getting everything. So I don't I don't really know if that's a thing. I think it's just kind of an impression people have because there's like people like realize like, oh, people actually do still want these kinds of games, so let's localize them instead of just not localizing it. That's basic. It's not like a renaissance so much as it's like oh yeah, we've been ignoring you guys for all this time, but this stuff has been coming out if you're still interested. And people were like, oh, it is, give it over here too, and it's kind of happened. So that's basically my impression of it. At least I don't feel like the content of or the even the number or the quality has particularly grown or changed. It's just people are actually getting them now. So let's see. Oh, I still have time. I still got time. Blazing through these. So let's see. We've got next question is from Jorello. He's got a couple of four questions here. So question one: what games did you think you were going to hate but you ended up loving? Um, let's see. Nothing is coming off the top of my head, but Dark Souls. um, Dark Souls, like in the Soul series, Dark Souls was the first game I played, and I had heard like my friend bought it, and he was just like, "This game I hate. I can't play this game, and I'm gonna just send it to you, and you play it." So went into it expecting it to be shit, and like I just really, and I really loved it, but like, um, that's one of those games. But like I wasn't really paying attention to it. And I know people had been talking about it, but I hadn't played it. And I thought, like, oh, well, I got it for free. Might as well try it out. And then, like, I just really, really loved it. So now it's like one of my favorite series. But that's one of them. Let me look back here because I know there's other games that would fit that category. Um, phew. Um, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head, but I can think of some games that you probably wouldn't expect me to like that I do like. Um, and one of those games that I didn't expect to like so much was Viva Pinata. It's not exactly the kind of thing I normally. It kind of is the kind of thing I might actually play, but it's like all bright and colorful and looks like for kids, and it kind of is. But like when you play it, it's actually a really fun game. And I put a ton of time into Viva Pinata, like way more time than I even remember. 60 hours maybe into Viva Pinata. And I really enjoyed playing that. And I didn't initially expect to like it as much as I did. So I guess I'll put Viva Pinata in there as one of those games. Let's see, next question. Similar to the last question, which games did you think you were going to love but you ended up hating? Um, I mentioned maybe in the last video I mentioned a bunch of them actually. What is it? Xenoblade, Xeno, whatever the Xeno game was on the Wii. There's so many Xeno games now. Xeno Gears, Xeno Saga, Xenoblade, Xenoblade. It's right, Xenoblade, right? I don't remember. Um, that one definitely Bravely Default. Um, let's see. Trying to think of games that I would have played and not and like put down, which is, I mentioned is rare. So like if I'm playing it and I just think like I'm done with this, I'm not playing it anymore. It's a game that I just like probably really didn't like. Um, but I don't see many of those. Hmm. Hmm. I don't know. I can't think of anything that's like sticking. There's nothing that's like really sticking out for me as something that like I really, really thought was going to be awesome, and then it just really, really sucked. Um, I can think of games that I thought were going to be good, and then they were just kind of mediocre. But that's not like really exciting to hear because it's just like a slight deviation in the opposite direction. Um, maybe Final Fantasy 12 is another one of those games where I thought it was going to be awesome, and then it was the worst Final Fantasy game I've ever played. Um, that's the kind of thing. That was like a huge disappointment for me, where it was honestly disappointing. So let's see. What are your guilty pleasure games? Is the next question. Guilty pleasure games. I've got a lot of games that aren't like, I don't really feel guilty about playing any games. But I know, I mean, I don't like feel like, I'm not like very self conscious about that kind of thing. So like, I don't feel judged by the kind of stuff I'm playing. And I did put a bunch of time into like stupid games that like nobody wants to play. Like there's like this AKB48 and Me game for the 3DS that's like this kind of like simulation and music rhythm game. And it was like I got it because it was like $3 new or something, and I thought like $3 new, even if it's awful, like who cares? It's just like a stupid thing I can try out and play for a couple hours, and that's like $3. Who cares? So I picked that up and like I started playing it with a friend who and she was I was playing and she got really into it, and we both were playing it for a while, and it's the kind of thing where it's it's I don't like AKB48, like I don't know any of their songs, but it was still fun because it had like kind of I don't know, simulation model management kind of things. Like there's a bunch of games that are like that I enjoy. A lot of sim games that kind of weird simulations and things like that I enjoy. That I don't really talk about those kind of games that much. There's like Matching Maker, which I have talked about on this channel before. Matching Maker is like this cheap. It's called Metropolis Mania, and I think I mentioned this in the previous Q&A. The Metropolis Mania or Matching Maker is like Sim City, but it has like real life chain stores and stuff in it, and it's also like super cheaply made, and they're like if you play Metropolis Mania, you know that because like it's broken, like straight up broken. The Metropolis Mania is Matching Maker 2. I think it's on the PS2, and like when you play it, like you can actually honestly get in situations where like the game will like stick you in a loop where you can't build anything. Like it just breaks itself because like the kind of like randomly sets goals for you, and sometimes you'll get goals that you just are impossible for you to meet in your current conditions, but you can't progress without completing the goal. So it's that kind of game. It's like a simple series game basically, but it was originally a simple series game that kind of became its own thing because it was popular enough. But those are my kind of guilty pleasures. I don't have like I don't have anything crazy like I don't know. That's like the kind of things that I would buy generally that nobody else would buy at least. Um, what is your favorite and least favorite character archetype and why? I don't know. I generally don't like the kind of annoying kids in games, and that's not to say they're specifically made to be annoying. They're just kids, so they're annoying. Um, and this is like in the Tales series. If you ever played a Tales series game, they're full of every character is some kind of character archetype, and like there's always an annoying kid. If you've played Tales of Vesperia, you know who it is. If you've played Tales of Graces, it's like basically the whole cast in the beginning, at least. Um, but like any of those, I dislike kids in games. I think that's basically it. I dislike kids. That's just full stop. But yeah, that's like the kind of thing where it's like the annoying, maybe like smart mouth kid or whatever, or like maybe I also dislike naive character. Like the stupidly naive character who does dumb things because they're too innocent, like that kind of thing. I don't like that kind of character either. Um, I like the kind of character things that I like are I without fail usually like the Chaos Heroes for SMT games. They're kind of like they're almost always good. Um, it's hard. I kind of like the I like your kind of brainy sidekicks in games. Like if you have like I mean, they're not always brainy, I guess, but like if you have like your scientist sidekick or something, I like those kind of characters, like helpful, smart sidekick dudes. I guess that's I don't know. It's hard to think of characters like that. I don't try not to think of characters as their archetype and more as just like what are they in this kind of character. Let's see. Next, we've got Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe. I mentioned him earlier in the video. Now he's got questions. He's getting 2 mentions in one video. I should cut him out. Um, but I won't. I'll answer his questions. Um, they might actually be the last questions for this video. We've only got a little bit of space left. So let's see. Question 1 from Mike. How soon after moving to Japan did you take on some of their cultural looks, inflections, or do you feel like you really haven't assimilated much? Um, I don't know, maybe a year or so before I like started buying Japanese clothes and then like doing more Japanese things. I think like once I was able to like kind of function in Japanese with other people, it was really helpful for me to start making new friends and start learning things about like um, kind of subcultures and fashions and things like that. So like it's helpful to have that kind of stuff going and learn about. So once I could start learning about that stuff, I started taking on those kinds of things. Um, I don't. Uh, I don't want to say that I haven't assimilated too much. I don't think it's really possible for me to assimilate. I think like there's a huge barrier to assimilation, and it's like this phase of mine, uh, and this pearly white skin. It doesn't really help. That doesn't really help. It doesn't help because you know Japan is a pretty um, mono-racial country. Like the vast majority of the people in the country are Japanese, like more than 99%, I think. And you know, being a white dude, it's hard because like if I were Chinese or Korean or something, people would look at me and they think, oh, Asian dude, he can speak Japanese. But like they look at me and I'm a white dude and they think like that dude can't speak Japanese. And it's awkward all the time at first. It means like people who would normally talk to me won't talk to me unless like I talk to them first. Or people who might talk to a Chinese or Korean person because they assume they can speak Japanese, like wouldn't talk to me. And like, it means that I make people nervous by my presence. It's not, and that's not to say like I make them nervous like they're clutching their purses kind of nervous. It's more like nervous with themselves. Like, what if this guy speaks to me in English? What am I gonna do? And it's that kind of feeling, like like where they'll feel like they have to do something about that, and people will be super nervous until you can like make them relax by speaking Japanese to them. And like I've seen this happen a million times where like I go into a shop or something and like the person will look super nervous, and then like I'll just talk to them in Japanese and they'll just like, whoo, they'll like totally relax. Their whole demeanor will change. So like it's that kind of thing that like it's just like, I mean, it's basically racist, but not like intentionally so. I don't really know. It's not like a thing that's it's not like, I know you're American and you live in Long Island. I assume there's like more than just white people there, right? Like when you generally when you're in America and you see someone who's like an Asian dude, or you see an Indian guy, or you see like a black dude, or you see a Hispanic dude, you probably assume that they speak English. even though there's a chance that they don't, like most people, like when you talk to anybody on the street, you don't talk to them in a way like because of their race. You wouldn't talk to them in like pidgin English, or you wouldn't like just straight out start speaking Spanish to them or something because of the way they look. I mean, you just wouldn't do that. You would automatically assume that they speak English and you would speak in English to them unless, until something otherwise comes up. So, like, you did see somebody and you started talking to them in English and they were like, I don't understand English. Well, okay, that's fine. But like in Japan, it's the reverse of that. Like people will look at me and they automatically will like speak in this like horrible broken English over using even attempting to try Japanese first. So like it's kind of a barrier, even though like I can speak Japanese. And like if I'm feeling like a dick, like I'll just stay in English that whole time if someone start comes at me in English, even if their English is terrible, just because like it's the kind of thing where like okay, I guess like you want to speak English if you were speaking to me in English instead of you trying Japanese first. So like it's that kind of situation where it just depends on how I'm feeling. And sometimes if I'm in a hurry or something, I'm just like, okay, just use Japanese. But it's a barrier. It's a huge barrier. Like I'll never be able to assimilate in a way that's like meaningful. That's fine. I'm fine with that. I don't care. But I think it's just not possible. So I guess this will be the last question because we're almost out of time. But it's fucking Mike. Uh, the question is, have you dated a lot of Japanese women there? Does Japan have a big drug scene? What game do you feel shows off Japan's street scenery the closest? Have I dated a lot of Japanese women there? I've dated basically only Japanese women here. That's not true. I've dated some Korean girls, but mostly Japanese women. Um, so yeah, I guess that's your question. Like, I don't think you're asking me for numbers. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, generally, if I'm dating somebody, it's a Japanese person due to like just demographics. Just but sometimes it's not. I mean, it's I've been known to not date Japanese people sometimes. Does Japan have a big drug scene? It sort of does, but not as big as you'd like. Not as big as America. For there's some real obvious reasons for this. Japan is ultra strict with drug laws. So like, you get caught with drugs, you're fucked. Like you're going to jail. Like, so it actually does deter people a bit, but not. I mean, not a lot of, not completely, because I know people who do drugs and, um, you know, are into that kind of stuff. But you know, you wouldn't catch me near that stuff. Like, I mean, for the simple reason of that, like, I don't want to go to jail for whatever many years and then get kicked out of the country when I get out of jail. I don't need that in my life. But also, like, I'm straight edge, so I don't, I'm not huge into the drug scene, even though there is one. But anyway, what game do you feel shows off Japan's streets scenery the closest? Damn, man. It depends because I think some games capture certain areas pretty well, whereas like other games catch different areas in a certain way. So like like playing a Yakuza game is not like the vast majority of Japan, but it is like some certain small areas you can go to, like in air. I mean, realistically, they're the same area, but it's similar to some places, not a lot of places, but at least the looks of it are similar. And then like a game like Persona 4 or something is pretty similar in some aspects to your kind of um, not city town, like small station. I've been to places that are kind of like that, so that is actually like a pretty good representation. But then you'll have something like Akiba Strip or something, and that's, I mean, it's basically like Akihabara minus like all the goofy characters. But so those kind of the games actually do show a relatively good representation of the areas or like the kind of specific sections there. I mean, obviously exaggerated for a game, but like they show those kind of things in a somewhat realistic way. Um, but I can't think of anything that's like a really good, like, you know, daily life kind of going around Japan kind of thing. If you wanted to see like a game that's like a, like a countryside Japan living, that's probably pretty realistic. Boku no Natsuyasumi, those games are pretty realistic, I guess. But other than that, I guess that's it. I think I'm going to run out of space on my phone, so I got to end this. But thanks for questions, Mike. And of course, if you guys have any more questions, ask them below, and I'll add them to the end of this list. Maybe it won't be 8 parts now, though, because I think I did a bit more this time than I did last time. So I kind of blazed through some of these. But who knows? It might not be as long as I'm imagining. But anyway, I will catch you guys whenever I do another video, which will probably be soon. I can continue these questions when I have free time. So see you guys next time.